For centuries, tuna has been an important source of food for most of the people of the Pacific Island countries and territories. However, increasing demand for fresh and frozen tuna in Asia and Europe and for canned tuna in the US is putting more and more pressure on the tuna stocks. To meet these demands, improved fishing techniques are employed. For instance, the use of purseines around fishing aggregating devices or fads. Catching excessive quantities of juvenile tuna reduces the productivity of the stocks, threatening many subsistence communities in the Pacific and denying commercial fisheries a better income. Governments of the Pacific must start taking stock of their tuna fisheries now to make informed decisions on proper management of this common heritage. Our story begins here in Kavieng, the provincial capital of New Ireland. Kavieng lies northeast of Papua New Guinea's mainland. Kavieng's port plays an important role to its 10,000 inhabitants for access of sea resources and inter-island transport services. The port also serves as a meeting point for scientists who are assisting the Papua New Guinea government assess the impact of fads on yellowfin and big-eye tuna stocks. This project will be one of the most detailed studies of fads undertaken anywhere in the world. There are 4 main tuna stocks in the Pacific region: skipjack, yellowfin, big-eye and albacore. The catch of these species is now greater than 2 million tons annually. Purseining accounts for most of the catch, about 1.5 million tons, the majority of which is skipjack. About 1/4 of this total catch is caught in Papua New Guinea waters alone. Purseine fishing on fads is very efficient, and there is now concern that big-eye and yellowfin tuna are being overfished in the western and central Pacific. Fads are designed to copy the properties of floating logs and other objects in the ocean. After a few days or weeks, algae, barnacles and other small sea creatures start to grow. Some of these small creatures are food for little fishes. While these small fish might be attractive to large predators like tuna, scientists believe the attraction to fads is related to a shelter-seeking instinct rather than for nutritional purposes. In recent years, thousands of anchored fads have been deployed in the waters of Papua New Guinea. The majority of these fads are owned by Philippine purseine fishing companies. Tuna tagging, along with other data collected from the fisheries, allows scientists to monitor the levels of exploitation and assess the impacts of the fisheries. It also allows scientists to understand the rates at which individual fish grow and the extent to which they move across the wide expanse of the Pacific Ocean.
One of the things is, where are the smaller fish in relation to the water column? So if we know that the smaller fish at the top, and when I say smaller fish, I mean smaller, big-eye and yellowfin, because those are the 2 issues, 2 fish that are in trouble. So if we are going to set on these fads, we've got to find some way of separating those smaller, big-eyes and yellowfin. If we can find some way of avoiding the catching of the young ones of those 2 fish, then that's okay. But if we cannot find a way to sort this thing out, then we may have to just reduce on how much fishing we do on the fads.
Tuna tagging has been conducted in the Pacific for more than 30 years by the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, SPC, through its Oceanic Fisheries Program.
But for tuna, because of the scale of these fisheries virtually across the whole Pacific Ocean, it's virtually impossible to get research surveys done cost effectively. So tuna tagging is very important, and that's really the way in which we can get data outside the fisheries, by tagging hopefully a representative sample of the population, and then monitoring that tagged population over time to determine its characteristics, and from those we can infer what's going on in the large untagged population as well.
The project objectives are being addressed by 6 months of fieldwork divided into 2 3-month tagging cruises. This is the second phase, following on from the first one held in August to November 2006. The team is oblivious to important days of the year. It's Saturday, the eve of Easter Sunday of 2007, and the team is on their way to their first research site, FAD number 7226. The project target for the 2 years 2006 to 2007 was 30,000 tag releases. To undertake this research, the SPC chartered the pole and line fishing vessel Saltai 6. The vessel is owned and operated by Saltai Fishing and Processing Limited, based in the Solomon Islands. The scientists are Bruno and Valerie from SPC, David from the University of Hawaii, and their local counterparts, Ludwig, Brian, and Thomas from Papua New Guinea National Fisheries Authority. David, the team leader for this leg of the cruise, specialty is sonic tagging. This will be the first time that sonic tags are being used in the SPC tuna research activity. Bruno is responsible for archival tagging. Valerie is the only female on board and specializes in collection of samples. The samples will be sent back to the SPC's fisheries laboratory for test and analysis. The study will look at tuna feeding behavior and the impact of fats on their diet and nutrition. Her latest gear is the digital fat meter.
It's really low fat. Tuna don't contain a lot of fats. So we're checking the fish, and hopefully we'll be able to say or not if the fish and the fats are starving, if they've got a low fat content, or if they're exactly the same as the other ones. So by measuring a lot of fish, we'll see if there's an effect of the fats on the health of the fish.
Ludwig, the manager of Papua New Guinea National Fisheries Authority, has been closely involved in the design of the project.
What happened is we had this fat issue. Initially we thought PNG was the only one that had this fat. Because we were giving out information that we had fat. So when this issue about small big eyes and yellowfins were being caught on fats, and also knowing that the stock of big eye is going down, we thought this was only our problem, that we had to do something about it, otherwise we're going to make every other person suffer. So that's how we thought of this thing. Let's put the money in and invite some other people to help us with the study.
Ludwig's assistants, Brian and Thomas, graduated in 2006 from University of Papua New Guinea with science degrees in biology and chemistry. This is Brian's and Thomas's first taste of working in a professional environment. The Office of Oceanic Fisheries Program is located at SPC headquarters in Noumea, New Caledonia. It's here where all tagging activities are monitored and coordinated. The Oceanic Fisheries Program supports the management of tuna fisheries of the 22 SPC member countries and territories by providing scientific research, advice, training, and capacity building. The program works closely with other regional bodies such as Forum Fisheries Agency and the newly established Western and Central Pacific Tuna Commission. John Hampton, the head of the Oceanic Fisheries Program in Noumea, has been instrumental in the implementation of SPC's assistance to Papua New Guinea.
The tagging project in Papua New Guinea is the first phase of a new SPC initiative with the National Fisheries Authority of Papua New Guinea to carry out a new tuna tagging program in the Western Pacific. We set ourselves what turned out to be a fairly modest target in terms of our tag release efforts. We wanted to tag 30,000 tuna with conventional tags to, as I said, set up this experimental population of tag fish that we could monitor. We were very successful in that project, and we ultimately tagged in excess of 60,000 tuna, skipjack, yellowfin and a small number of big-eyed tuna.
Leading the crew of this 27-meter pole and line fishing vessel is Captain Sebastian and Fishing Master Danny. Sebastian, Danny and the 22-member crew are all from the Solomon Islands. For the scientists, systematic data recording begins here. A digital recorder will initially record a verbal data commentary as each tuna lands on the cradle. The information recorded on the digital recorder at this point would be species, size, tag number and tag type. Other details of the data on location, type of school, FAD number, date and time will also be entered later into the database.
74, yellowfin, bag number 5. Oh, almost. $135.
While David and Bruno start transferring data from their digital recorders onto paper, Valerie begins her sample collection. Here she's being assisted by the Papua New Guinea team. Each tuna sample must be labeled first, so the samples can be referenced to individual tuna. The samples required are muscle tissue, stomach and piece of liver. Their fat content will also be recorded along with their species, sex, size, location, school and date. For most of the yellowfin that are being sampled, their reproductive organs are still not fully developed.
Male or female organs. This one it's a underdeveloped male. You can tell it's the testes because they're quite solid and you cannot roll them when you try and turn them. I can't feel them rolling in my fingers, so there's no hollow space. If there was a hollow space, it'll tell you it'd be a female.
Transcriptions are done. The data on the hard copies are then transferred to the computer database, where additional information like location, FAD number or type of school encountered, date, duration of fishing, and even the name of the tagger is also recorded. The more tuna caught that day, the longer it takes for David and his team to enter the data onto computer.
2.3.
For Valerie, the sampling session is complete after all samples are properly recorded, labeled, and safely stored in the freezer. This is also the beginning of the next part of her work, which is to transfer all hard copy data onto her own special database. With the first FAD, visual evidence of immature yellowfin and big eye are already there.
No, it's been a problem throughout the whole program. I haven't been able to get enough big eye, and we certainly tried hard, but just haven't been in the numbers we'd hoped for. So we'll try again tonight. We try fishing deep at nighttime to get big eye. But so far, this last month has been very scarce. Very scarce.
The next tagging destination is more than 14 kilometers away and at a speed of 9 knots, which means about an hour away. It's time for a meal. Fishing and tagging starts all over again. After 2 days, the bait is almost finished. Without live bait, this pole and line fishing technique wouldn't be possible. Thousands and even millions of little fish are required to allow this fishing technique to be viable. The dependency of large numbers of bait fish is a negative aspect of tuna tagging. Fortunately, several species are available in Papua New Guinea and throughout the tropical Pacific. It's time the team to head back to shore. Our first anchorage and baiting site is St. Andrews, 400 kilometers southwest of Kavieng and about 60 kilometers southeast of Manus Island. Saltai crew will use the Japanese traditional method of collecting live bait known as bokeami. Bait is collected only during the darkest time of night. Baiting is generally not done during full moon because the high levels of natural light make our underwater lights less effective. While waiting for baiting process, a game of darts is played to pass time.
Single 20, single 18.
This also an opportunity to interact with the locals that visit the team to barter their local produce in return for fish, cigarette, or satisfy their curiosity. For local scientists, this is also a time to refill tagging applicators. The tags are organized in wooden block that holds 100 tags. The time has come for the bait to be captured, but all lights have to be switched off. Filming has to stop here to avoid spoiling the process. Encountering Perseinas in the Bismarck Sea is not uncommon. The crew on this Perseina are known and friends of the Saltai team. The meeting here is to give rewards to the Perseina crew for tags recovered during their fishing operation. Most of the tags recovered are from skipjack. The reward can be either $10 US or a SPC t-shirt. A higher reward of $250 US is paid for the return of archival tags. We have spent 9 days at sea and just a day away from the end of the cruise. Sonic receivers that were deployed at the beginning of the cruise need to be retrieved. The receivers reveal interesting information. Each sonic tag inserted in a fish gives a unique identity to it. This means that the receivers can identify them individually and be able to monitor their movements at the original fad or at monitored fads in other areas that the tuna might move to. The information on depth, duration of their stay and departure after being tagged is also revealed and recorded on the database.
We'll just download the data and find a good one, and you can film it.
It's the 10th day, the end of this cruise and back to Kavieng.
It's not very good. When we hit this yellowfin and bigger, we catch the smaller ones and we also catch the bigger ones. It's not very healthy for the stock, because if we continue that way, we're just going to wipe them out. Yeah. But in PNG, sometimes we argue that most of our money comes from skipjack. It's an economic argument, but if you really look at it, then what is all this investment if we are going to run down the stock? So really, it depends on sustaining the resource. If we can sustain the resource, then we can sustain the industry. Otherwise, if we wipe out everything, there's no meaning at the end of the day. Everything will break down if you don't have any fish to catch.
Enjoyed it. Learned a lot of things that we wouldn't have learned in the office or in a lecture room, because we just both Thomas and I just graduated from university. And I think we learned on this boat. We just can't mimic in the classroom. It's been quite an experience and one we've enjoyed very much.
Really happy to go for the receiver, sonic tags, and also the archival. Because Thomas did his first big eye archival 2 days ago. It was perfect. So.
We really learn a lot from them, and fishing, some of the fishing techniques, and some new to us. We experience a lot from them.
I should say goodbye to them. I think this is our last time to do this tagging in PNG water.
The tuna tagging project in Papua New Guinea was a great success, with more than 60,000 tuna tagged. Thousands of tagged fish have been recaptured and the data provided back to SPC. The project is now continuing in other parts of the Pacific. Data being collected will form an important piece of the jigsaw puzzle as scientists continue the process of taking stock of our tuna.